Hello, hello, everyone. So today I want to talk to you guys about what does self-trust look like. When we want to innovate and when we try to push the envelope, I think that one of the most important skills for that is having trust in ourselves. Let's talk about this whole hypothesis, and we're going to break down a few of the pieces of it. So first, we're going to talk about what innovation is, but first, what it is not. Because innovation is not just creativity, all right? Innovation is not thinking about something differently and having those new ideas. Innovation is not just intelligence. Every single person here in the room, I know, is one of the smartest people in the rooms that you are in, okay? You wouldn't be here if you were not smart and intelligent. Innovation is also not just a technical skill. You don't have to know Python or AI or anything else in order to be an innovator. Having innovation isn't the technical skill that you can learn in a certification class. What I believe innovation is saying something before you are 100% certain. It is being able to challenge a current system. Innovation means not letting people just stick with we've always done it this way. You're going to try to see, maybe there's a better way to do it. We don't just have to do it the same way. Innovation, most importantly, is risking being wrong. And the reason why most importantly is because when we risk being wrong, something in our system can activate. Our nervous system can say wrong is a threat, and threats are danger, and danger is death. So if we have not figured out how to harness our nervous system to calm it down a little bit, you might find yourself trying to innovate and your subprimal part of your brain is like, whoa, we are entering dangerous territory and we could die. So instead, let's not do that. So we have to really pay attention because our brain is doing its job. Its job is to keep us alive. And it's been doing very well for every single one of you here in the room. Give a round of applause for surviving. Go brains, go. However, surviving is not necessarily where we want to end. That might be a good starting goal. We should all survive. We want to thrive. We want to do well. We want to innovate. And so the real question, I think, becomes when your body feels exposed, uncertain, or feels judged, can you handle that? Do you still trust yourself enough to speak when you feel that nervous system activation? Now, here's the thing. For us as women here in the room, we kind of have the cards stacked against us a little bit. I don't know if you have ever heard this before, but were you ever taught to be agreeable? You know, maybe you're like these girls in the line, prim and proper, legs crossed. Be agreeable. Don't take up too much space now, okay? You have your lane and you stay in it. You don't need to go in anybody else's lane. Or my favorite, let's hear a holler for everybody who's ever been told, you're too much. Yeah, that's right. This is my room of women. Because these things prevent us from being good innovators, okay? Because innovation at its core requires taking up space. Innovation requires having an opinion. And my favorite, innovation requires disruption. It's going to get messy. Things are going to get turned over. It's going to go crazy. These are things that we as women are not socialized to do. We are socialized to be like those girls sitting with our legs crossed and our nice heels. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that specifically, but we also need to be these girls who are playing in the mud and who are flipping up wagons and just making a mess for the sake of it. When we exist in a space that rewards confidence and speed and being overconfident, our already societal impacts on us are not going to help us and support that. So often as women, when there's overcorrection, we can either go too far and be way too loud, way too noisy, way too whatever, and not actually have our authentic selves. We're putting on a show, if you will, and that's not really right either. Or we end up shrinking. Those are the two sides of the dish. We shrink, we don't tell anybody about ourselves, or we overcompensate and we make everything about us and it's all me. And we don't really need either side of those ditches, okay? We can ride the middle. Sometimes when our nervous system gets activated, it can feel a little bit like a mess of tangled wires. All right? And you may not know exactly where to start. How do I untangle this mess? Which wire should I unplug first? How do I figure this out? When your nervous system registers a threat, it can be dysregulated. You're going to go into protection mode and you're not going to be in innovation mode. Self-trust is physiological before it is physical in our spaces. It's going to start with noticing your nervous system and how it is getting dysregulated. Who has ever experienced your body feeling like the chaos of this picture? Right. It's not very fun. And so when you go through the work and the journey of observing your nervous system and figuring out how can I stay calm even when I feel judged or threatened or challenged, that is where we start with self-trust, okay? So we defined innovation. We're going to keep going on into self-trust. I want to talk about a few things that self-trust is not first. Self-trust is not being right all the time, even though we're women, and of course we're right all the time. But that's not what self-trust is. Self-trust is also not never doubting yourself. Good double negative there. You can have self-trust and still doubt yourself. That's actually pretty normal. Self-trust is also not having perfect confidence. It's not being somebody who is like, wow, look at her and how amazing she is. She must have it all together. But self-trust is knowing that you can handle being wrong. It is knowing that you can handle being uncomfortable. It's not fun to be uncomfortable, but can you handle it? Can you survive that threat? Self-trust is also knowing that you can repair relationships if you need. If you're going to have a hard conversation with someone and you're going to bring up a big idea, or you're going to say, hey friend, you brought up this idea and I'd like to challenge that because I don't think it's the best idea. That sometimes can step on people's toes. Can you repair the relationship? And can you make sure to know, even when your impact and your intention don't align, can you have that conversation with somebody to say, hey, I never intended for you to feel like I was dismissing you or diminishing your idea. I'm so sorry for doing that. Self-trust is knowing you can handle that repair conversation. Self-trust is also knowing that your voice deserves space. Every single one of you is worthy of taking up space. Your voice deserves to be heard, okay? Yes. It is knowing that I can survive the risk of being seen. For me, in my own journey of regulating my nervous system and getting to know it more, this started a couple of years ago, back when I was still working corporate before I went out on my own. And I did not like my nervous system. I thought that she was being rude and she was being over dramatic all the time. And the signals that she was sending me just seemed to be not helpful. Through the journey of therapy and coaching and really intentional work in on myself, I've gotten to the point now where me and my inner critic, we can actually lock arms together and I can say, hey, inner critic, thanks so much for your opinion on this. I'm going to proceed anyway. It's a pretty big deal to get to that spot, but where you can have conversations with yourself, not like a crazy person, but like somebody who is self-aware and can understand what's happening. That is a huge part of the journey. I'm not here to tell you that it is fast and easy. I am here to tell you that it is worth the work, okay? It is worth investing in yourself and in your journey to build that self-trust. Now, you're like, okay, Sami, sure, you told me a couple of years ago you started this. I'm here today, and I'd like some practical steps on what I can do. Well, don't you worry, I've got a slide for you. 3 practical ways that you can start to build self-trust. The very first one, as it's been alluded to, you can regulate before you innovate. This can look really practical. You're going to go into a big meeting and you're going to take 3 deep breaths before you walk in there. When you are outrunning a bear to save your life, your brain does not have the capacity to take a deep breath. And so if you can take a deep breath in that moment, that is just enough of a cue to your brain that, wow, we must not be in so dangerous of a situation that we're going to die in a moment. We can take a deep breath, okay? That is one way to trick your brain into saying, this is safe. I'm not facing a bear or a saber-toothed tiger. I'm just facing other human beings in a corporate boardroom, okay? Although they can feel very similar. Something else you can do to regulate, you can put both feet on the ground. You're sitting in the meeting, okay? We're not before the meeting, now we're in the meeting. We feel ourselves start to get a little breathy and not sure what's going on. I'm doing these things. We're gonna put both feet on the ground. We're gonna notice how sturdy it is. We don't live in California, so we don't have to talk about how unsturdy the ground is there. There's an earthquake. Right here, right now, the ground is sturdy for you. It is there for you, supporting you. All right? Even if you feel alone in the room, that ground is there for you. You're gonna lower your shoulders, all right? I'm gonna go ahead and do it now. Notice where your shoulders are. Do you feel them? Do you feel them get tight? They do it on accident. You don't even realize it. We're gonna lower our shoulders. All of these are very in our body practices to help us to regulate before we innovate. The last one we're gonna do to regulate is we are gonna speak for one sentence, not 5. You do not have to over-explain your idea. You can wait for people to ask you questions about your idea. You can say, I think that we should do this big, bold thing. And that's it, and leave it right there. You don't have to say anything else about it, okay? Wait for people to ask questions, because too often, well, I think based on my experience and what's going on over here, that I might maybe want to do this thing. Nope, we're not gonna do that, okay? We're gonna speak one sentence, not 5. Small regulation leads to bold moments. Next, if you're over here saying, Sammy, I am not going to be speaking up at a meeting this next week. That is not happening. I think you're a crazy person. That's totally fine. What we're going to do is we're going to practice low stakes risk taking. All right. Maybe sharing an idea feels high stakes for you. What is a low stake risk moment? Could it be disagreeing with someone? And the whole room feels anonymous, and maybe you're going to be like, hey, I have some concerns. Maybe that feels low stakes. Maybe you're going to share with your manager or your boss, hey, I have an idea. What do you think before the team meeting? You're going to find something that feels easy enough, but still hard enough. It's got to stretch you a little bit, but it's going to be not that big stretch where you feel like you're going to snap, okay? That little stretch, and then when you survive, you get to tell your brain, I survived. I faced the bear, the meeting, and I did not die. Look at that. Maybe we could do it again. Maybe we could do something else, okay? We're going to practice low stakes risk, and that will give our brain and ourselves evidence that you can do this. Because you can. You just need that evidence to build to know that you can do it. So maybe you're going to volunteer for something you wouldn't normally volunteer for. You're going to disagree respectfully. You're going to ask one question in the meeting that you keep it in your head because you're not sure that you should say it out loud. I have found in my experience, when you have the question, somebody else also has the question. So ask it. That's going to be your way, practicing low stakes risk. And then the biggest one of all, in my opinion, of how we're going to start to practice self-trust is we are going to separate the outcome from our identity. Innovation at its core is going to require iteration. It's going to require you saying, I think you're wrong, and somebody else saying, I think you're wrong, but for a different reason. And somebody else saying, well, I think you two are right, but let me add another layer to this. People iterating on an idea does not have to mean, well, they think I'm dumb. Well, they think I can't cut. They obviously don't trust me if they are asking more questions about my idea. Nope, none of those things have to be true. We are going to separate our identities from our outcomes. Okay, and this is probably the most important point from the whole talk, because if you can figure out how to hold these things separate, you are unstoppable. If you can go do anything, and it doesn't have to mean something about you at the end of the day, oh my gosh, like truly speaking, the world is your oyster. When you can say, this didn't work, but I still do, that's powerful. That right there is going to be revolutionary in our workspaces. I want you guys to take a moment to think about a sunrise. Think about if you were sitting outside. I'm not an early morning person, so I get told these stories. I don't experience this a lot. But you go outside and you're in the pitch black and you can't see anything. And that moment where it suddenly starts to change a little bit, you would still say it's dark outside. It's still dark, all right? And as it continues to fade and it continues to rise and it continues to go, suddenly, all at once, you will notice it is not dark anymore. But did it happen all at once? No. It happened very slowly and gradually over time. So each of you are going to be like the sunrise. Notice if you were sitting in the complete dark or if you are somewhere in the middle. And we are going to continue on our journey of trusting ourselves because it is worth it. That sunrise is glorious. So And if you continue to work, you will get to see the brightness of what it looks like to trust yourself and be able to innovate. So this week, I want you to remember being deeply rooted does not mean staying quiet. It does not mean staying small. And it does not mean staying safe. It means being grounded enough in yourself that you can take risks because you can. You are innovative not because you are fearless, but because you choose to trust yourself enough and move forward, even if you feel nervous or afraid. So this week, I want to invite you to do one thing. Say the thing, pitch your idea, ask one hard question of people, take up one more inch of space than you did before. Because innovation doesn't start with code or with any other big grand ideas. It starts with courage, and courage starts with self-trust. Thank you all so much for your time today.